offered $15 million and it came down to money. Is he lying when he says that?
Who gives a shit?
Did the negotiations just fall out over money, or was he not?
I've already talked about this a million times, and John knows what happened.
Okay.
John knows what happened. I don't know. So, first of all, leading up to this, whatever this is, you know, all I do is Jon Jones, the GOAT, he's the greatest, da 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 da, and everybody's talking about how I'm blowing Jon Jones all the time. Now this falls out. What, I fucking hate Jon Jones and I'm trying to destroy Jon Jones now or whatever? Jon Jones knows exactly what happened. And this happens every week at the UFC. There's all kinds of negotiations going on. You know, you think Jon Jones is clamoring to fight? Like Jon Jones is like, we have to give this guy 3 fights a year if he really wants to fight. Legally, we have to give him 3 fights a year if Jon Jones is chomping at the bit to fight. And if we don't, we have to pay him. I love Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
I love Mike Tyson. Jon Jones is the nastiest dude ever in the history. And I always say this about Jon's got a dark side to him, man. Jon's got like those dogs that'll rip your arms apart and do all that. He shoots guns. Jon Jones is a killer in every way that you can be. When the stuff was going on during COVID and there was riots and people were spray painting, Jon Jones went into town and was taking spray cans out of people's hands and slapping them and saying, "Go home."
Heavyweight division, take the title away from him.
Jon Jones called us last night and retired. Jon Jones is officially retired. Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion of the UFC.
Just one quick one for me. Hate to bring him up, Jon Jones. I know he was never in contention to fight on that White House card. But he did say that he was offered $15 million and it came down to money. Is he lying when he says that?
Who gives a shit?
Let's pause right there.
So
What do you mean, who gives a shit? Jon Jones is saying he was offered $15 million. You, Dana White, are saying we never negotiated with him. Jon Jones's team is saying, hey, we were open to maybe not the $30 million that we originally asked for, but somewhere in between. This kind of matters.
Whoa, hold up. Right out of the gate, Dana White doubles down on the most tone-deaf moment of his career. When a reporter hits him with the Jon Jones situation, the UFC boss doesn't flinch. He fires back with that now infamous line, "Who gives a shit?" Let me tell you something, this isn't just spicy soundbite material. This is straight-up explosive. One of the biggest legends in MMA history says he turned down a $15 million offer, and Dana's response is to act like the whole thing is beneath him. That single phrase didn't just land, it detonated across the entire MMA world. This isn't some casual brush-off you can laugh at and move on from. We're watching the public face of the UFC completely dismiss a fighter's integrity, fans' demand for honesty, and the massive stakes behind it all. Jon Jones isn't just any athlete. He's widely regarded as the greatest mixed martial artist who ever stepped into the octagon. He claims the money was on the table. Dana swears no negotiations ever happened. But here's what this is really about: control. It's about who gets to write the story of this sport. It's raw disrespect wrapped in corporate swagger. And when you peel it back, that "who gives a shit"
This is Jon Jones. This is Jon Jones refuting everything that you have been saying. So I guess to answer the question, who gives a shit? We give a shit. The media gives a shit. Your fans, the paying customers, the ones that, help make UFC Seattle the highest gate in fight night history. Every time he says, who gives a shit? The answer is very simply us. Fans, media, people who've been watching, people who buy tickets, people who show up, people who buy X, Y, and Z. That's who gives a shit. I don't understand this who gives an F mentality.
Attitude reveals something far uglier than a bad press conference. It's a symptom of a deeper rot in how the biggest promotion on the planet treats its own stars and the people who pay the bills. Stick with me, because once you see the full picture, you'll understand why this one moment matters way more than most fans realize. This isn't just Dana being Dana. This is Jon Jones stepping up and calling out the entire narrative the UFC has been selling you. Buckle up, this story is just getting started. In this clip is pure frustration bottled up and thrown right at the camera. and every fan and media member watching knows exactly how it feels. It's the textbook definition of what happens when the guy at the top of the empire stops listening to the streets that built it. Dana White is supposed to be the face of the UFC, the guy who reps the whole organization. Instead, he casually shrugs off a legitimate money dispute with a living legend like Jon Jones like it's yesterday's news. In one breath, he alienates the exact audience that made him a billionaire. Telling reporters who gives a shit isn't just rude, it's a catastrophic misunderstanding of how this entire fight business actually works. Fans don't tune in, cheer, then vanish into the night. They pour their hearts, their wallets, and years of their lives into these.
And so you could say, as he says later on, you know, he knows the story, whatever. That's fine. He doesn't want to go into it. I get it. I understand why. Ultimately, you don't want to tell the White House you couldn't get a deal done with the biggest American star out there. But the who gives a shit is such a cop-out. It is such a cop-out because we could rifle off a lot of people who care about this story, including Jon Jones. We continue.
Did the negotiations just fall out over money, or was he not?
I've already talked about this a million times.
Athletes and their stories. They buy the tickets. They smash the pay-per-view buys. They grab the merch. They live and breathe the drama, the backroom deals, the rivalries that play out both inside and outside the cage. Dana's entire empire was built on that raw, passionate connection between fighters and the people who support them. When he dismisses it so flippantly, he's not just being tone-deaf, he's actively damaging the bond that keeps the lights on and the octagon full. You don't bite the hand that feeds you and expect the meal to keep coming. This is dangerous territory, and the UFC is walking straight into it. Intro, I don't want to answer this. Those 6 words say everything you need to know. Dana White's "who gives a shit" moment isn't just some heat-of-the-moment outburst from a guy having a rough day. It's either a calculated shutdown or a sloppy one, and either way, it pulls back the curtain on how the UFC really operates behind the scenes. Think about the optics here. The last thing the promotion wants to admit in front of the world is that they couldn't close a deal with their biggest American superstar, Jon Jones, because of money. That kind of public admission would crack the invincible image they've spent years building. So instead, Dana...
Yeah, and Jon tweeted about it.
I don't know. So, first of all, leading up to this, whatever this is, you know, all I do is Jon Jones, the GOAT, he's the greatest. Everybody's talking about how I'm blowing Jon Jones all the time.
This has nothing to do with
Now
it.
this falls out. What, I fucking hate Jon Jones and I'm trying to destroy Jon Jones now or whatever?
You could have
Jon
come to a
Jones
deal.
knows exactly what happened. And this happens every week at the UFC. There's all kinds of negotiations going on.
Dana hits the eject button. We've already talked about this a million times. Classic move to kill the conversation and pivot to safer ground. But here's the problem that won't go away. The stories don't line up. Jon Jones says an offer was made. Dana says it never happened. When the answers keep contradicting each other, a simple "I don't want to talk about it" doesn't calm anything down. It pours gasoline on the fire. It screams evasion. Fans and Jon Jones himself deserve straight answers. These aren't minor details. These are the negotiations, or lack of them, that decide careers and define legacies. Jon was in those rooms. He knows exactly what was said. The rest of us are still waiting for the truth. Watch this moment and you'll see the mask slip. Dana White goes from defensive to full victim mode in seconds, flipping the script like a pro. 1 second he's being called out for blowing off Jon Jones. The next, he's claiming the real problem is everyone else, destroying Jones.
You think Jon Jones is clamoring to fight? Like Jon Jones is like,
Yes.
we have to give this guy 3 fights a year if he really wants to fight.
Oh my God.
Legally, we have to give him 3 fights a year if Jon Jones is chomping at the bit to fight.
He wants to fight on this card. You negotiated with him.
And if we
come to a
don't,
deal.
we have to pay him.
No, you don't. You don't. Because are they offering Colby Covington 3 fights a year? I mean, like, how many guys don't get offered 3 fights a year? This 3 fights a year thing, which no one challenges them on, is such hogwash. Such hogwash.
In the media. Classic misdirection. And it tells you everything about how much pressure he's feeling. That emotional explosion isn't random. It's the sound of someone watching their carefully controlled narrative get ripped apart in real time by reporters and fans who actually pay attention. But the commentator doesn't let him off the hook. He jumps right on the glaring contradiction staring everyone in the face. Dana just spent minutes insisting there were no real negotiations with Jones for that card. Then he pivots and says negotiations happen every single week like it's no big deal. Which is it? You can't have it both ways. This is the tightrope Dana walks every time a high-profile fighter like Jon Jones pushes back. Jones isn't just any fighter. He's a PR nightmare wrapped in unmatched talent, and everyone knows it. When the boss tries to steer the story and the facts keep tripping him up, the frustration boils over. The narrative control is cracking, and that's exactly why this explosion feels so raw. The cracks are showing, and the whole MMA world is watching.
Jon Jones couldn't be more clear about the fact that he wanted to fight on this card. Now, if what you're saying is, hey, we didn't want his services on this card, but we did offer him 3 other fights on this date, that date, and this date, all right, cool. Have they offered Conor McGregor 3 fights a year for the past 5 years? Something tells me they haven't. What about Colby in the last year or so? What about Jorge Masvidal, who came out recently and said, yeah, I got offered an MVP fight, and they said no. This 3 fights a year thing is such nonsense. No one's fighting 3 times a year. Are the other guys who aren't fighting 3 times a year? Izzy hasn't fought in the last year. Is he just turning down fights? Like, well, what's going on? What are we talking about?
This part of the conversation finally calls out one of the UFC's oldest, most tired excuses, and it gets absolutely shredded. The 3 fights a year contractual line gets dragged out every time it's convenient, but the second you apply it to a superstar like Jon Jones, the hypocrisy becomes impossible to ignore. If Dana really believes Jones is desperate to stay active and begging to fight, why not sit down and make the deal happen? Why trot out this magical number like it's sacred law when we've all watched it get ignored for other massive names? Conor McGregor, Colby Covington, guys who move the needle, don't hit that mark consistently, and it's rarely because they're turning down fights. It's because the offers aren't there. Using that same line as cover for failing to book Jon Jones after he publicly said he wanted the fight? That's not business strategy. That's complete nonsense. It's an insult to every fan's intelligence. The narrative collapses the moment you look at it with clear eyes. Jon Jones has been vocal. He's been ready. And the excuse machine is running on empty.
That's silly, and this who gives an F thing is silly. That answer comes when you don't have anything else to say. When you don't want to get into it. Just like the AI thing. Nothing to say, don't want to get into it. I know there are very smart people who run the UFC, who are in the day-to-day grind of the UFC. This is their life. And I know they see this and say, this is so crazy to speak to our customers this way. These are our customers. This thought of like, just watch the stupid fights. No, that's everything that is wrong with the UFC.
This segment drives the hypocrisy home like a sledgehammer. The UFC loves to preach the 3 fights a year rule to its biggest stars, until those stars start bringing in the real pay-per-view money. Then suddenly the rules get flexible. Jon Jones made it crystal clear he was eager to fight on that card. He said it publicly, repeatedly. Yet Dana's version of events paints an entirely different picture. And when you stack that up against other inactive superstars, Conor McGregor, Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, you see the pattern loud and clear. These are guys who move mountains in the sport, yet they're not being offered regular bouts. This isn't about fighters being lazy or turning down money. It's about the UFC's own booking decisions and their reluctance to meet the financial demands that come with marquee matchups. The 3-fight rule is a convenient shield that lets them dodge the real conversation about fair pay and proper matchmaking for the athletes who actually fill arenas and break records. Calling out fighters like Israel Adesanya for missing the mark while ignoring the same issue with other big draws?
We felt the way in which we felt about Saturday's fights because we know who Izzy is. That made us feel something. We know who Michael Chiesa is. That made us feel something. We know who Alexa is and what she's been through. That made us feel something. It's not just watch the fights. Because I tell you what, if it's just watching the fights, then it's all about those crappy Apex cards that you put on that no one's watching. These reports came out about the pay-per-view numbers that were tanking, and why the deal was so good for Paramount and not good for ESPN anymore is because people aren't just willing to watch the fights. They want to care about the fights. And he knows this.
It's not consistency. That's a smokescreen. And when you look at the actual data, who fights, who sits, and who gets paid, the screen starts to disappear. This isn't a one-off. Dana White's who gives a damn attitude toward Jon Jones is part of a much bigger, much uglier pattern, and this clip proves it. The same dismissive energy shows up when fans or media bring up the AI controversy or any other uncomfortable topic. It's the default response whenever real questions demand real answers. What's damning is the growing sense that even people inside the UFC know this approach is insane. It's an open insult to the paying customers who keep the entire machine running. That, just watch the stupid fights and shut up mentality isn't just arrogant. It's suicidal business strategy. You don't build a global empire by telling the audience that funds it to stop caring about the details. In the context of the Jon Jones contract drama, this attitude doesn't just annoy people. It actively breeds distrust between fighters, fans, and the promotion. Once that trust erodes, it's incredibly hard to get back. The divisions are forming, and they run deep.
I'm not telling him something he doesn't know. He's in the caring business. He's in the emotionally invested business. He's in the business of prize fighting. This is a cop-out. I don't even know, what's the point? I don't even know what's the point. And I have to sit here and dissect it because this is the job. We make you care about these fighters on this show. And we'll talk about the good and the bad. And 95% of today's show has been the good. But we'll also talk about the bad. This is embarrassing.
The commentator absolutely nails why Dana's favorite line, "Just watch the fights," is complete garbage, especially in the middle of the Jon Jones firestorm. We don't watch fights in a vacuum. We don't throw money at pay-per-views because two guys are throwing punches in an empty room. We fall in love with the stories. We root for Izzy's rise, Michael Chandler's redemption, Alexa Grasso's underdog magic, because we know their backgrounds, their struggles, their heart. That emotional connection is what turns a regular card into a cultural moment and what makes Apex shows feel forgettable. When Dana waves off Jon Jones and the very public fight over respect and compensation, he's not just dismissing one fighter. He's undermining the human drama that made the UFC a billion-dollar brand in the first place. Fans want to know why Jones made the decisions he did. They want to care about his future. Shutting that conversation down kills the very thing that built this empire. The octagon is the stage, but the stories are the show. Ignore them at your own risk.
Okay, Jon Jones, your biggest star, came out and said he was offered $15 million, and he feels disrespected by it, and he wanted more money. You said recently he was never going to be on the card, and you guys didn't offer him anything. Well, who's lying? Jon Jones knows the story. Yeah, the story he told us refutes your story. These are all very fair questions.
This might be the most ironic moment of the entire saga. Dana White is in the caring business, whether he wants to admit it or not. Everything he's built over decades rests on one simple foundation: making millions of people emotionally invested in fighters and their journeys. You can't sell out stadiums and break pay-per-view records if fans don't care. Yet here he is, dismissing serious questions about his biggest American star with a casual "who gives a shit." That's not just hypocritical. That's self-sabotage on a corporate level. The media's job is to dig into these stories, the good, the bad, the messy, so fans care even more. When Dana's version clashes so violently with Jon Jones' public claims about offers and negotiations, it doesn't just look bad. It looks embarrassing. It punches a hole in the UFC's polished image and forces everyone to wonder what's really happening behind closed doors when the cameras are off. The contradiction is glaring, and the organization is feeling the heat.
Dana, as a company, you've never used AI before, and we have noticed a difference. Is this a new approach? Mentality? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about certain fans who feel like a company that is as big as the UFC should have higher standards than using, as the kids like to say, AI slop? Right, Frankie? Is that what they call it?
This clip cuts straight through all the noise and puts the entire Jon Jones controversy in the simplest, most brutal terms possible. Jon Jones, the consensus greatest of all time, says he was offered $15 million, felt disrespected by it, and wanted more. Dana White, the public voice of the UFC, says no offer was ever made and Jones wasn't even considered for the card. The commentator's blunt follow-up lands like a hammer. Well, who's lying then? That question is hanging in the air for every single fan paying attention. This isn't a misunderstanding or crossed wires. This is two completely different versions of reality colliding in public. Dana's earlier explosion in the media scrum and his continued refusal to give clear details only makes the UFC's side look shakier. When the biggest star in the sport and the biggest promotion in the sport are at war over basic facts, the suspicion grows. Fans are left wondering exactly how much the organization values the athletes who made it what it is today. The trust gap just got a whole lot wider.